Hello and welcome, Colin Bunyan here. A new special dessert coming your way. This is caramel apple lattice pie. Now first of all we're going to need to make the pastry, and I definitely disagree with ready-made pastry. I don't like it. It doesn't have the shortness or anything really good about it. So my technique is to make my own pastry here. For this I'm going to need plain flour, obviously. And I'm going to need about 600 grams of pastry, maybe a tad more. Now I want 350, no, but I'm going to go 400 grams of plain flour. Okay. Now we're going to need 200 grams of lard. Okay. Now, I know you're going to be worrying, why lard, why not butter? Well, lard just makes a shorter pastry. Now, the lard needs to be cut into fairly small pieces, like so. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take one of these pastry cutters, see one of these devices here, and we're just going to cut the flour into the lard, like so. There we have it. That is what you should be after, a nice, well crumbled mixture. It should still be separate, shouldn't clump together. Okay. Now we'll bring in my little trick. Eggs. Now what are you thinking, why eggs? Watch this. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to use a spatula first of all just to put the eggs into the mixture. I don't like having the wet egg mixture to handle first of all. Now, judging by how poorly it's clumping, I'm going to take a risk and go for a fourth egg. So to cut the egg in using the spatula, just chop it up. So I need 4 eggs for this rather than the 3. Yeah, the 4th egg's going to unify it. You don't want to overwork the pastry, but you've got to make sure that it comes together as a good unified whole. Still nice, still soft, still crumbly. There we have it. That is the pastry. Okay. Now what we do with that is we grab a carrier bag or some shrink wrap if you prefer. I prefer carrier bags for this. Okay. Because you get enough of them, they're clean. Okay, and all you do is you bring the pastry into the bag, get as much of the air out as you can. Right. Get as much of the air out as you can, and then bung it in the fridge for at least 1 hour. We'll start off by grabbing some plain flour. We're going to flour the surface like so. Make sure you get plenty of flour on there so the pastry doesn't stick. Got a couple of hours to rest, so it's probably a bit more rested than it normally would be. The first thing I'm going to do, just going to flatten it out using the hands. Okay? We now need to separate it roughly 40-60 split. Okay? I'll explain why in a moment. We'll take the 40%, we leave it for a moment. What we then do is then grab this posh flying tin, leave that aside. Rolling pin time and rolling the pastry out. So it's about the thickness of a £2 coin. You really do not want to have pastry that's thick. Okay? Right, now you've got it to the thickness of a £1 coin. What we then do is we then carefully, you can use the rolling pin if you want. I personally don't like doing that. Some people do. Okay? So very carefully grab the pie dish and line that with the pastry. You press it in to the fluted edges. Make sure it's all in nice and tight. Okay? And then we need to trim it up, make sure it fits perfect. And what you're going to do is just add a bit more flour to the bottom, a bit around, And then, unusual, but this helps I find, and just prick the bottom like so, not maliciously, but it's just to prevent the pastry from rising up. And you don't want to go all the way through the pastry. So very light, just tap the pastry, just breaks the surface tension of the top of the pastry. Okay? Like that, that's all you need. We're then going to do my little trick, okay? We're going to bung some jam at the bottom. Now I know what you're thinking, why are we going to do that? Well, simple. Because this is going to get coated with caramel on the top, the jam at the bottom will catch any loose caramel that oozes out and prevents the pie from getting soggy. So it works. Blackcurrant jam works better than strawberry or raspberry. Strawberry's too sweet. Blackcurrant has just got a nice vicious tang to it. And there we have it. One beautifully jam-lined pastry case. Now what I've got here is some Reuben's apples, okay? Now normally I go with Braeburn, but Reuben's are meant to be sweeter, they're nicer. Whatever you do, do not go for brownie apples in this. Brownie apples just result in a mush. I can't stand mush when it comes to apple pies. I want my pies to have a bit of texture and a bit of crunch. Now you don't need 8, I just bought them because they're a special offer, okay? Now, cut them in half, okay, and cut them in quarters, okay. Now you see that part there, where you've got the core, just do this. I don't know how good this is going to pick it up. Diagonal slice along that, and you've got rid of the core, okay. So then all you do is you slice into 3, and then into chunks. Good sized chunks. You don't want skinny apples, okay? 7 apples went into this apple pie. The apples are just over the top, nicely delicious. Bloody Windows logo gets everywhere. Now what we do is we chop a lime in half. Squeeze out over the apples. But dash the last of the cinnamon over the top. It's now time to re-roll the pastry. I'm going to make lattice strips. Again, same thickness as before, £2 coin, and then just carefully cut into strips. Try to keep them equal thickness, don't matter too much about the length. Now you want some that are going to be quite short and you want some that's going to be quite long. Now what we do, very carefully, we make a lattice weave. And there we are, that's the caramel apple lattice pie. To get the caramel sauce, all we do is over a low heat, grab some butter or some margarine, doesn't matter what it is. Just need a couple of teaspoons. You're also going to need some golden syrup. And of course, some demerara sugar. Okay. Don't need to be an exact science, about 50 grams of each should be fine. All you do is you gently stir it until it all amalgamates, which shouldn't take terribly long. That's what the caramel should look like. Beautiful light golden brown. Okay? That gets poured, can I see this up? Yeah, that gets poured over the pastry lattice work of the apple pie. That goes into the oven for 10-15 minutes at 220 degrees centigrade before dropping down to 175 degrees centigrade for 35 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been in for about 55 minutes. This is where smell-o-vision is compulsory. Thank you very much. I have been, and indeed still am, Colin Bunyan. Good night.